Gosh, it was 6 or 7 years ago now when I was getting married the first time, and it was a very elaborate over the top wedding in Morocco. I'm talking camels, I'm talking pitching it to Vogue to cover, which I know.
Camels? You had camels at your wedding? Holy shit. Okay.
And, I can say that now, like, wow, I was really trying to prove to everyone and myself included, mostly myself, that our love was, like, really real. But I basically put on this whole festival spectacle performance because I was walking down the aisle thinking, I don't know how long this is going to last. And I'm afraid he's not my person.
How long were you guys together before the bells?
We've been together for 9 years.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay, that's a
Yeah,
long
and
time.
he proposed 6 months in, so we were engaged for 7 years, which is a red flag in and of itself, and finally, I decided, like, "I'm gonna make this relationship work, we're gonna figure it out, and the way we're gonna do that is, of course, we're gonna throw this crazy wedding."
I'm John Kim, a licensed therapist who used to be a miserable fuck before going on a hero's journey and turning expired relationships into revelations. I use my story to help others come with you instead of at you, unrehearsed on purpose, because self help doesn't have to be polished or complicated, just honest.
I think I started reading your stuff was it Tumblr days?
Tumblr days,
Was it?
2011,
Were you on
2010,
Tumblr?
2011, yes, I was on Tumblr.
Okay, holy shit, because I was like, "Oh, I've read her stuff before," and I remember part of her story. With your new book, that's a whole different story. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, wait, actually, I think we kind of peripherally collided on Tumblr," and so I was like, "Oh, I gotta I gotta talk to you."
I know, I actually went and looked, and do you remember my thing called the passion experiment?
No. What was your Tumblr called?
Hey, Amber Rae.
Yes, yes, I remember that title.
I launched this thing called the passion experiment where I was gonna, like, support people to, like, act or to realize some passion in 4 weeks. And I just read your answers
Oh,
to
I filled
this
it out?
form. You filled it out in 2011.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
You basically wanna change the face of therapy. I mean, literally what you're doing now. I can send you the answers. I just read this, and I was like, he is literally living what he claimed in, yeah, March 17th, 2011.
How many years is that?
14?
14. Guys, if you DM Amber or message her, she will respond in about 14 years. Just FYI. She will
I responded
there is
to
a
her
delay.
email. I wrote back. I
Yeah, yeah,
wrote
you did
you.
it right. Wow.
Anyway, you can look up my email. We have a whole back and forth. You sent me your book, but you were like wanted to change what a therapist looked like
Yep.
and everything
Yep.
that I wrote, you are living. So that's exciting.
Wow.
Congratulations.
What a like a privilege to connect to you now. And we have both gone through I went through a divorce. You've gone through your character arc and different chapters. And also we're both authors now. So that's really cool.
But it's cool.
Can we change the tone a little bit? I'm sorry if this feels a little forced, but I wanted to start on your wedding day,
Mhm.
the first time you were married. So you describe how you felt, and I thought it was one very courageous, but also I think especially women. I don't want to generalize, but so many people feel what you felt
Mm.
on your wedding day. So can you tell us what that was like and how you felt on your wedding day?
Yeah, so just to add a little color and context, gosh, it was 6 or 7 years ago now when I was getting married the first time, and it was a very elaborate over the top wedding in Morocco. I'm talking camels, I'm talking pitching it to Vogue to cover, which I know.
Camels? You had camels at your wedding? Holy shit! Okay.
And, I can say that now, like, wow, I was really trying to prove to everyone and myself included, mostly myself, that our love was, like, really real. But I basically put on this whole festival spectacle performance because I was walking down the aisle thinking, I don't know how long this is going to last. And I'm afraid he's not my person.
How long were you guys together before the bells?
We've been together for 9 years.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay, that's a
Yeah,
long
and
time.
he proposed 6 months in, so we were engaged for 7 years, which is a red flag in and of itself. And finally, I decided, like, I'm gonna make this relationship work. We're gonna figure it out. And the way we're gonna do that is, of course, we're gonna throw this crazy wedding.
To validate it, to prove that this fairy tale is real, and yeah, the happily ever after thing that we're all trying to trace, old blueprints.
Yeah.
So because you were unsure on your wedding day, did you feel like, okay, it's such a big production, like, of course I can't back out of this. It's like I'm in, and then I'm gonna make it work, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I really did genuinely hope that us getting married, that sort of commitment would be the thing that, like, "Okay, we're gonna figure this out now." But yeah, I mean, we weren't having sex. I didn't feel a level of, like, depth and connection in the relationship. At our wedding, on the first night of our wedding festivities, I couldn't find my, like, soon-to-be husband, and it's like, we're having the family dinner, and I'm like, "Where is he?" And then I found him on a work call, on a conference call, and, like, the only room on the building with Wi-Fi, so I was, like, walking down the aisle, like, also angry of, like, I can't believe he's working at our wedding, and we just in a lot of ways, we're incompatible, but I feel like both scared to face the reality of what that would mean for us. Like,
Mm,
really good guy. He was a great guy. I'm grateful for the time we shared together and how I grew in that container, but, ultimately just, like, not my person. But that was really scary to confront and then have to, like, yes, admit this truth to myself, but then, like, what we had to do about that. But yeah,
yeah.
I don't think my, like, nervous system could tolerate, okay, even though, because like 3 months before the wedding, I wrote him this very long letter that was like, "I'm not afraid to call off the wedding," which I had forgotten
Mm-hmm.
about until I was writing my book and, like,
Mm-hmm.
doing research, and I came across the letter, and I was like, "What? I don't even remember writing this." But, I don't think my nervous system could tolerate telling the 70 friends and family who had already booked trips across
Right.
so going to Morocco. I couldn't face all of the consequences of backing out. It was far too scary.
When you sent him that letter, did he respond? What was his response when you? Because if my fiance said, "Hey, I'm not afraid to call off the wedding," I'd be like, "Okay, stop. Where's that coming from? I'm already smelling ambivalence. There's something wrong. Why are you saying that?" Like, like I would investigate that for sure.
Totally, and I, like, very in the email, like, laid out all of the reasons why I was concerned about us getting married, and, a big part of it is that I didn't feel like he was showing up fully to the relationship,
Hmm.
or I didn't feel like he was, like, as committed to, like, doing the work of the relationship as I was. That was my experience. So his response to that was he came in and said all the right things. "I'm committed. I want this. I'm gonna
Right.
show up. We're gonna do that," which, I later realized that our entire relationship, there was a disconnect between actions and words.
Was
And,
he a
when
workaholic? You said he was.
I would say he was a workaholic. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think he would call himself a workaholic too. So
And, in the book, you describe it as a sexless. What does that mean? Does it mean once a week? Does it mean not at all? And then also, if there was no sex, intimacy, couldn't you guys sense the elephant in the room, or were you guys just at this point just kind of like friends, or did it turn into like roommates?
yeah, but frequency, gosh, I like try to maybe twice a year.
Right. So that's obvious. That's not like,
Yeah.
and no one felt that was a problem. That was.
I think we were so in avoidance and denial because we didn't wanna face, "Okay, then we have to leave each other." And I think because we were friends and we enjoyed each other's company and there was a lot of benefits in the relationship, we cared about each other and all of that, we knew that once we faced that truth, that would mean the relationship needed to end. Or at least that was, my side of things, and I also there was a lot of, like, trauma for me to unpack after the relationship because I also consider myself, like, a sexual person, and
Sure.
so I also think I was scared to confront what that meant about me, and I remember at one point in the relationship being like, "Maybe I like women? Is that, like am I
Mm,
actually am I in the wrong kind of like, I thought it was something wrong with me.
right. Internalizing.
I was internalizing it, and so afterwards, I was like it felt like I woke up from a spell, and I was like, "How the hell was I just in that for 9 years?" Like, it felt insane to me on the other side that I put up with that, let that be okay, because I thought of myself also as the kind of person who, like, stood up for what she needed and, like, named, and so it was strange to me, but what I later realized is that because, my father left when I was a young girl, my first
Hmm.
time meeting him was when I was 8 years old that I remember meeting him. I was 8 years old, he was in the hospital with a brain injury. I desperately wanted him to be able to see me and attune to me. Clearly,
Mhm.
he wasn't capable of that because he had a brain injury. But I realized that was the pattern that I played out in relationships. I always chose people who I was trying to reach
Mhm.
and be able to like connect with on that deep level. That was part of it. And two, I chose people who felt like safe partners or friends because I didn't want to feel the intense longing of wanting someone if I like truly and deeply wanted them in that way. So like in some ways I picked someone that I didn't particularly want to have sex with because it felt
Right. Safe.
safer.
Yeah. So would you describe that as a father wound? Dad?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when did you realize that, oh, this is tied to my past? This is not something that I want. This is something I want to heal. Was it when you met the person you're with now? Or did you have like therapy moments?
I had understood the father wounding. Like I could have told you forward and backwards my abandonment trauma and like my attachment style. Like I had all the language and intellectual understanding. I think I didn't like I never somatically processed it, which I didn't realize until I was in a relationship with someone I really desired. And then I was afraid they would leave. But I knew, oh, maybe this is some of like, and it's funny because on our 2-year wedding anniversary, I kind of had this aha moment of like, holy shit, I don't think I can save our marriage. He just fell asleep watching The Voice. This was the least romantic thing I've ever
Mm,
experienced. Like,
hmm.
whoa, I probably want more than this. And
Right.
then like have that realization. And then it was the next day that I met someone else. And so it was kind of like that, like 1, 2, and in meeting that other person and feeling like, oh, this is actually what connection and traction are supposed to feel like. And I never have felt this in my marriage. What's that about? Led, that meeting. At first, I didn't know if I was just meeting someone who was kind of like a catalyst or if he was going to end up being my love of my life. But it was this mirror for me to like look more honestly at where I wasn't being honest and what I was avoiding in our marriage.
Right. You know what's really interesting about your book, Lovable, is so you get married and it's kind of a fairy tale wedding, but there was this connection, ambivalence. But then you meet this person, this other person who also he knows, but the meeting and the collision and the feeling and like that also felt like a fairy tale. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like the wedding wasn't really a fairy tale, but then you did experience a fairy tale because the way that you describe it in your book is like you meet this person and there's an instant knowing, and also you guys weren't even intimate for a while. Like you guys made future plans and you guys had never even had sex. Like it's that whole chapter of your life seems fairy tale, even though your wedding wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it was it felt like a fairy tale, it felt yeah, it felt otherworldly, the only way that I could kind of understand it is that I was like, his dad had also passed, and it felt like and I wasn't a person I don't know, it felt like his dad and my dad, like, met each other in spirit land, and we're like, "We're gonna
Mm,
bring you 2 together."
play Cupid.
Uh and it just it a lot of it did feel I, like, feel some resistance to that word because I kind of also wanna, like, blow up the fairy tale because I think
Yeah,
the fairy
right, right,
tale
right,
is
right.
holds so many women back from finding joy and fulfillment, but I also recognize that that part of my story had fairy tale-like qualities and, like, this you meet someone, you know immediately, this is my person, I'm supposed to spend my life with them.
Wait, because that's such a. So how did you know that? Like, what would describe the feeling? Because a lot of times what you're describing for many people is a lightning in the bottle. And then a
Yeah,
lot of times that is dysfunction. Not in your
right.
case, but a lot of times eyes meeting across the room and raw sexual chemistry. I got to be with this person. That's exciting and very honeymoon in the beginning, and it wears off, and then and it turns out it's dysfunction and trauma bonds and all that. But the kind of the twist in your story is that it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was and it wasn't sexual, the
Mm,
connection. It
mhm.
wasn't like, heat-based, "I want this person."
Okay.
It was like, we met and I looked into his eyes and it was just like, "I know you." Like, it was this, like,
It was
recognition.
almost spiritual then,
Yeah, it did. It felt
not
spiritual,
sexual. Yeah.
like he was like, "Hi, I'm John," and it literally felt like I was like, "Hello," like, "I know you. How
Mm,
do I know you?" And, like, why does it feel yeah, it was like if there like, it was like a golden orb was around us. I don't know how to describe it except it's just like, "Hi, you. Where have
mm,
you been?" kinda feeling.
right.
If like, I don't wanna call it brother, sister, because like, that also but it was just, like, this immediate, like, safety and knowing. I don't know, like, I've met friends who I, like, have that instant, like, "Oh, where have you been my whole life? I feel like I've known you." Like, we just are, like, catching up, like and then we've come to be very good friends. Like, it actually felt more like that than the, like, and I've had my early 20s trauma bonding, like, "Ooh, hot
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
boy,"
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this was not that.
Was it more do you believe in past lives? Was it like that kind of feeling? Like we've met
Yeah, I
before in
would
a
like
different
to bel
life?
yeah, like, maybe it was a past life, it was
Mm,
something like that, but it felt like there was a lightness to it. There wasn't
mm,
like I don't wanna call light and darkness, that's not the right but there was just, like, something there, and I was like, "Wow, like, why do I feel like I know you?" And I did, I had this, like, knowing or intuition say within me, like, "He's your person. This is what connection is was supposed to
mhm.
feel like." And I very quickly, my mind had a lot of thoughts about that, like, "That's insane."
Right.
And
Did you fight it? You felt it and you fought it because you
I
were
felt it
married?
and fought it because I
And
was
also
married.
he was a mutual friend.
He was a friend of a friend.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I fought it because of good wives, I can't do this, I'm
Right, right,
married, the
right.
timing's inconvenient. But I couldn't help but, like they were supposed to be there for an hour, and they stayed for 5, and him and I just, like, connected in this
Mm,
it was, like, very just, like, wow, so much alignment,
mhm.
and when they left that evening, I turned to my then husband, and I said to him, "I just met a soulmate," because that's what it felt like. It felt like a mate of my soul. But, again, I wasn't thinking, "No, I'm gonna leave my marriage and go be with this person," but it felt like I just was, like, so lit up by the connection that I even had to tell my then husband because it felt special.
How did that land for your husband? Was there jealousy? Was there, acknowledgement? I mean, I'm assuming he also probably knows by now that, there's something wrong with your guys' marriage, like there's work that needs to be done that both of you are avoiding.
Yes, I think he was
Yeah.
aware of that. I think he genuinely was the kind of person who loved me unconditionally and wanted me to experience
Mm,
pure connection and good things in life, and so he witnessed our connection,
yeah.
and he later told me he knew our marriage was over that night, which I was like, "Oh, really?"
Oh, wow.
But he, like, said to me that, like, "I saw, and that was beautiful to witness." And I
Mm,
think he said that I think may have also been masking something else too, like, maybe there was something he was a person who sometimes I was like, "What's really going on beneath the surface?" It was
mhm.
hard to know, and so I wonder if there was more for him there in that moment.
And so once the cat was out of the bag, what happened next? Because you guys started working together.
Well, yeah, I thought, "Okay, he's not clearly I'm married, and that would be crazy, he's not my life partner, that was just some, like,
Right.
feeling, but whatever, and he's not gonna be your person this lifetime, maybe in another life," is literally what I thought,
Yeah.
and so why don't you make him he's a, really renowned artist and designer, and why don't you make him your partner in this project? And I'd already made my husband my business partner as a way to try and get closeness with him, I realized later. And so I thought, "Oh, great, let's have him join the team."
A very interesting, three-way business related right now,
Yeah.
being creative and working together. All the participants knowing that there is definitely a connection between you and
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And so that, I think once we started to formalize what that would look like, and honestly, part of why my then husband was on board is that he had amazing chemistry with him too. And
Mm,
like they had, like when the three
right.
of us were together, we would like go in the world and like things were happening. So, I think for my then husband, who's very entrepreneurial, he saw John also as a way to bring the vision to life. And so he
Right.
was like, this actually could work. And like later told me, like, also, it's kind of nice that you're meeting my wife's emotional needs because I can work more. And so, like, he's like, maybe this arrangement will work. But, I think before we formalized what it would really look like, I had to name because we had it named and I couldn't tell if I was just feeling this really special connection. Like, and I did wonder, I was like, is it just because I haven't had sex and I'm in this lonely marriage? Am I like
Hmm.
looking outside of myself for that? Like, I was, what is this? Because I think I was having a hard time understanding what the connection was and like
Right,
why
right.
like, what is this? And is it a trauma bond? And am I I was kind of in the inquiry around that, and so I brought it up at one of our meetings. I was like, "I just wanna name something because I struggle leaving things unsaid. Like, do you feel a special connection here?" And he pretty much what he said was exactly what I experienced, which was he was like, "I felt this kind of, like, recognition at first sight with you."
Mm.
he's like, and he had told me, he's like, I actually went to my friend that night and I was like, why is the universe showing me the person who I feel like I'm meant to be with? What seems like a happy marriage and is unavailable to me? Like, what's that about? And his like thinking around it was like, I guess I'm like learning about unconditional love without possession. And maybe you're just like showing me what's possible for me in love.
That language sounds like, okay, here's what I have with you and here's what we've built. I've known you forever. And what we excel at is partnerships and other kind of building, not so much the romantic or sexual. Then you meet this other guy. There's a different type of connection, which I see and you see. It feels like with that language, it's like, oh, maybe we can make this work, all three of us. Like it feels like what do they call it? A thruffle?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
It's throuple, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, my it was even, like, at one point we're like, "Do we open the marriage?
Right. Right.
Do I get my needs met emotionally and maybe physically with John?" And
Right.
then I
Then
bring that energy.
business and other stuff with your husband?
Yeah, but then I was like, well, if I were to actually, like, reevaluate the relationships here and accurately label them, my husband would be my then husband would be you'd be my friend, and
Right.
John would probably be my boyfriend, and
Right, right.
so, like, this is illuminating. So it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
honestly, it was this, like, very unique it wasn't, like, you think usually when you hear stories about, like, someone meeting someone else, there's, like, betrayal or
Mhm.
secrecy. Instead, this was like, "Oh, wow, this is interesting. Wow, this person entered our life and now is anything that we were avoiding and not having honest conversations about, we're now confronting and having honest conversations about, and also, like, looking more honestly." And yeah, it was a wild life experience.
But I gotta say, and it's what makes Lovable interesting, your memoir, that it isn't predictable in that people would assume this is where it turns Telemundo. This is where people start throwing chairs and, you know,
Yeah.
their feelings are hurt and there's betrayal and stuff. But it was almost like your ex-husband acknowledged it, accepted it, and then was more curious about it than defensive.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was typically how he approached life. He was someone who tended to, like, accept, forgive, like, own his part, like, again, a good person. And there were feelings, there were still moments of anger, like, he confronted John, but it led to a really honest like, there was also, I feel like, real human emotion here, but I feel like we just, like, instead of moving into attack or blame, we really kept moving into curiosity with each other.
So yeah, so I just feel like everyone acknowledged the elephant in the room and was actually very adult about it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what inspired me to write about it because it was like life happens. Sometimes, unpredictable situations happen. Like, what do you do about it? And I felt like, of course there were feelings. Feelings got hurt. There were moments of anger. But I feel like we were upfront and honest and all talking about it together. And so it was like we were committed to going through what happened together.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
being as honest and transparent as we could, which, like, for 9 years of maybe not having some of those, like, important hard conversations, we really we really sped that up and decided to do a redo on that.
So what happened from here? Because your curiosity and love about this new person grew like
Yeah,
exponentially, right? And the connection
yeah,
was real and it wasn't coming from a dysfunctional place, but maybe even like a spiritual place.
yeah, yeah, I think once I recognized that, I before I even told John, I told my then husband. He was catching on as well, and,
Yeah, sure, of course.
actually even was like, "Are you falling in love with him?" And I was like, "Yes, I am falling in love with him." And so we had the honest conversation. He was upset about it, but also was, like, upset and happy for me. And, I think my commitment in that moment was, like, I just have to speak the truth, knowing that the truth is often the kindest thing, even though it can be the hardest thing, and trust that chips will fall where they will. And so I spoke the truth that night, and then that things happened pretty quickly once I knew that I was falling in love with John and I had already grieved the marriage that I was in. The marriage was already over. I was just like afraid to let it go. And so I think all of that came to the surface and then we closed the container of our marriage and move forward.
Did the guilt was that eclipsed by the excitement and also I'm sure meeting the collision of this new person, John, and all the like the creative stuff and everything happening, you must have felt really alive.
I was holding aliveness and shame at the same
Yeah,
time.
that's what I mean. Like, yeah, guilt and shame and then aliveness and oh, what it could be. Like it's gotta be so confusing.
Yeah, and I think it ended up being, like, I think, like, 6 weeks or f 4 to 6 weeks that my e ex and I, like, closed the marriage, but basically, the shame and the guilt, "Am I gonna hurt him? Am I gonna let people I care about down?" Like, that was more what was keeping me there than the, like, I feel in love with and committed to this person. I wanna build a life with them. They were very, I guess, like, the other fear of others and other focused things. And so, yeah, it was like aliveness of feeling like I was 35 years old then, like, actually falling in love for the first time in my life because I hadn't yet experienced like, I don't think any of my relationships were, like, real love. They may have been safe choices or friends that became more, but it was never like, "Oh, this is love." And so, it was like, the aliveness and the ecstasy of that was, like, incredible, but then I felt like I was also at the same time holding, "Wow, I'm gonna really hurt this person who's my good friend that I care about,"
Yeah, of
which
course.
felt tremendously scary.
So once you guys close the marriage container, then what? Now a new chapter. I mean, not even a new chapter, a new act break in your life. Now you start to build a brand new life with a new person.
Exactly, new act life, start to build a brand new life, which I also had feelings about and other people had feelings about that I was, like,
Yeah,
running into it too quickly. John's a stranger, like,
sure.
how could you, you know?
Yeah.
And me too, like, "Oh, do I need to spend more time alone before I
Mhm.
go jump into this relationship?" I had all these judgments about myself. And I remember someone saying to me, like, "What would you do if you weren't afraid and didn't care what people thought?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, like, I've been alone in this marriage for some
Right.
time." I actually
Right.
had feel like I spent a lot of time alone. I was like, "I'm ready to, like, go see what love can become, go see, like, what's possible here with John." And so I decided to just jump in. And what I didn't expect going into that, I remember being on the flight to LA and I packed my things. We committed our lives to each other and we hadn't yet kissed.
Okay, hold on. So people are now gonna be like, "What? What?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is also what's interesting about your story is you guys planned out your future and you guys were talking about what's gonna happen, how things can unfold, and you guys hadn't even kissed.
We like talked about baby names before we had kissed.
But that's what I mean by like this kind of like weird fairy tale kind of element. It's almost like it's kind of like what our grandparents you hear stories like this, like, like literally writing letters from like war or from the other sides of the country and like, planning a future. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, like, John also just like knew. And I felt incredibly chosen by him. Like, zero doubt, zero, just like and it was, and I felt that too, but to be met there, I don't think I had ever experienced a relationship where I felt someone like so willing to choose me as much as I was willing to choose them. And so it very exciting. But I think what I wasn't prepared for, I'm on this flight to LA. We've committed our lives to each other. We haven't kissed. And the fact that we hadn't yet kissed was terrifying to me
Yeah.
because,
The buildup, right? Like what's on the other side of this?
well, and I was in a 9-year sexless marriage. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
disconnected from my sexuality. I
Mm,
like don't I'm like I feel like a 15-year-old girl who's never had sex. Like I was
yeah.
like, what do I do? Like how do I touch him?
Mhm.
I was very, and then I was incredibly annoyed to be having all these like I was like I just blew up my life in a way and I'm in this new act and I thought I was going to be coming into this feeling like carefree and joyous and I've also done tremendous work on myself. Like don't I get to just enjoy this moment? And instead I'm like riddled with anxiety and insecurity and fear.
Mm,
And then here it was the what I wasn't this is where all the somatic part of the abandonment started to show up, where it's like, "Oh, okay, so I knew my dad wounds and my that trauma, but I chose relationships where I wouldn't have to feel what I'm feeling on this airplane right now, which is if I'm not good enough in bed or if I'm not blank, he
right.
will leave."
Right.
And so every relationship I had chosen, I never was afraid that they would leave.
Yeah. So
But I in some ways, they actually did leave, like,
yeah.
emotionally or, but, like, the physical leaving, whereas, like, if I can't show up in some way, if I'm not perfect, if I'm not
Mm,
blank, yeah,
hmm.
you'll leave me, and so all of a sudden, I was overwhelmed with that on this flight to LA.
You saw a photo in his phone. You saw a photo in his phone. He was not cheating. He was not cheating.
No.
No, no, no,
So,
no, no.
like,
Yeah.
this happens, and I, expressed to him, like, "I'm a little out of practice, and you're not out of practice, and, like, I feel like we are at the same level in different aspects of our life, but, like, you know,
Well,
I
describe the photo for the listeners. They're like, wait,
yeah, okay,
so
wait,
yeah,
hold on, we're jumping a little ahead though, but, like,
okay.
like, it's important to know that there was a moment of intimacy that happens, and
Oh, right, right.
we start to, like, voice these or I start to voice these insecurities, and then in the midst of that, he's, like, going to show me he was, like, finding a book on his phone that he wanted me to read, and I, like, lean on his shoulder, and what shows up is a picture of a very petite, very sexy woman on a bed in France, and I was like,
Wait, was this a real person or was this like just a
no, no,
cult?
no, real person
Oh,
that
real person.
he
Oh,
was,
okay.
he was
Right.
John was a documentary photographer back in the day, so it was a photo
Got it.
he had taken of a very sexy woman that he was
Oh,
about,
got it. Okay.
you know,
Yep.
and so I felt tremendous insecurity because here is this woman in, like, this very sexy lingerie, clearly knowing how to seduce a man, and me feeling like I'm standing frozen in these moments of intimacy because I don't know what to do, and so it was
Mm.
just the contrast between what I felt like he was used to in interactions with women and what my skills were. I felt like there was such an enormous gap that why would he ever want to be with me?
Oh, man. And, I gotta say that part of the story is so tender and vulnerable, and I really appreciate it as also a writer myself, you disclosing all this because it's your truth, and it's also such a private feeling of insecurity and also what even just a photo can activate in us, you know?
Yeah.
What was really sweet was he held it. What was really sweet was, well, your courage to talk about it, how it made you feel, and then him actually holding that with 2 hands and being like, "Hey, yeah." And then maybe that was also proof that he's not going anywhere. Maybe that was also proof that this was a relationship worth investing in.
Yeah, and I think there were 2 things that were happening. One, it was all these insecurities were surfacing for me that I
Yeah.
think was surprising to both of us because also to him, he saw me as this, like, really confident, self-assured woman who,
Mhm.
like, this was the first time he was experiencing my insecurities, and I was like, "What's uncomfortable to me is that these insecurities feel unfamiliar to me." Like, I thought I the terrain of my insecurity,
Right.
had some sort of, like, control or language or understanding of it, and now it's just, like, coming out abruptly and in ways that felt messy and unpredictable and, like, I don't like this is more vulnerable than I've ever felt in my life. So that was very confronting for me as, I guess, someone who liked to have it more put together and polished than I realized.
Isn't that what love does though? Unless you are loving from a distance or unless you're not all in, I mean, hands folded, leaning backwards with your eyes closed, that's what love does. Love, puts a black light to things and brings things up. And so here love is bringing up your insecurities that you've never felt that you had before.
Yeah, exactly, and then he was able to hold that and
Yeah.
hold space for it and,
Yeah.
like, offer I felt like he, like, was this fine line of, like, "I can reassure you, but I don't wanna be the reassurer." Meaning, like, you have that strength and clarity within yourself, and, like, that is for you to, like, hold the hand of the little girl and understand her needs and, like, all of that, but I will absolutely reassure you and, like, do my end of the street. But I guess he, like, really wanted me to make sure I was looking and doing my part there. So,
Mm,
like, it didn't become this codependent dynamic.
right.
And so, like, that was part of it, but then what was also is that I never experienced healthy conflict growing up.
Right.
Anytime conflict happened, it
Ruptures. Yeah.
ruptures, volatility,
Yeah.
it actually got dangerous. And so when him and I started having conflict or, like, me seeing this photo or, like, as, suddenly we're strangers in some ways. We're moving to an apartment together. We're like, "Let's do this." Stuff comes up, and that conflict was very frightening to me because I thought it meant that we were incompatible. And so the learning for me was like, "Oh, actually, conflict isn't what breaks up relationships, it's the lack of repair, and
Sure.
every time we have a repair, that's a data point for my nervous system that I'm actually safe here." And so it's ended up being like a tremendously healing dynamic where it was a safe space for these wounds to surface that I'd never allowed myself, I guess, to be vulnerable in relationship,
Mm.
to be with someone where that would surface and to be with someone who actually trusted to kind of face those things together.
Do you find that most people who are confident, especially with business, career, other areas of their life, when it comes to this kind of intimacy, that there is a veneer or a fear?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it
Yeah, I
depends.
find that common. Yeah.
Yeah, like, particularly, like, I mean, if we wanna talk attachment styles, like, although I tended to have more anxious, but also some but, like, The avoidant is
Mhm.
very charming and charismatic and successful, or can be very successful in the world, but intimacy is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like, the
Yeah.
do they really ever let themselves be seen? So, yeah, I see a lot of successful people when it comes down to, like, "Wait, can I, like, look into your eyes and feel you? I wanna feel you. Where are you?
Right. You're like, oh,
Feel you?"
yeah. Do you want to share with our listeners what the first experience was like with you and John?
Which one? The
The the
first.
the like the first time you guys made love.
Sure. What.
Well, no, because that's kind of you were building up how that stuff was you were
Well,
insecure
'cause the
about it.
photograph happened after, that's why I felt
Oh, that
like.
happened after. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it. Right.
It was like, we had made love for the first time, and then all of a sudden on the other, which
Oh, and then
like
it
the
came, yeah,
scene
that
of
makes
love
sense.
first time, it was
Right.
sweet. I
Right.
stood there like a deer in headlights and had I was like John described it later, my, like, arms were pinned next to each other.
Mm.
And, like, it was, I had a lot of, like, racing thoughts, and he was even disassociating in moments and having trouble staying in my body because I was very much in the story of, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and what if I can't satisfy him, and all of that, and he sensed it and kept saying things to make me feel safe and comfortable. And it, ended sweetly and ended in us having these honest conversations about what was going on, but then it was, yeah, then the photograph happened after that. And so I was already in this, like, space of, like, wow, I feel really witnessed in a way that I'm definitely gonna have some vulnerability hangovers. And now I see hot French girl on a bed in lingerie.
Yeah, I get it. I could relate to it. I could relate to it in my own way, growing up exposed to things like porn at 12 and locker rooms and feeling inadequate because I didn't have the I used to say baby arms and people got offended, but I didn't have the size that other men did in images I saw, right? And so I felt less than in a lot of my relationships until in one relationship. And then also the one I'm in now, she's amazing. Also, they actually preferred my size.
Mm,
And I was
mhm.
like, "Oh, really? I thought you guys like no, that actually hurts and I'd never liked it, but I think I love your size." And then I thought they were lying and I had this, like you said, insecurity and all this stuff. And then now at 52, I'm finally now I'm okay with it through a lot of
Mhm.
corrective experiences and also
Mm,
a lot of my partner holding my feelings and
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's beautiful.
I just wanted to share that I can also relate to it
Yeah.
from like a man and the stuff that we go through. Yeah. How is it now? How's life? What are you up to besides this new book?
Well, we have an 11-month-old.
Wow. Now your motherhood.
Now it's
Oh,
motherhood, and gosh, that's a
yeah.
whole other
That's a
season
whole
of.
nother. Yeah. No, no. That's a whole different. That's another act break.
Yeah,
That's
I
another
know,
act
that's
break.
the
Yeah.
next book,
That's yeah. Next book.
which is it's we're obsessed. Our son is, I know I'm biased because 'cause I'm his mother, but he's a soulmate baby.
Mm,
He's
mhm.
just this, like, bright light and sweet. I love being his mother. I love witnessing him. I love watching who he's becoming.
Yeah.
I just, like, it's like, what a gift that I get to just, like, create the container for him to become himself.
What revelations are you having about your own parents now? Because that's what hit landed for me is when I became a dad. I was like, "Oh my god, this," because no one knows what parenting's like until you do it. You could read books, you could hear stories, but until you actually are doing it, I had so many revelations about my parents.
Yeah, I've had both, like, moments of anger and then, like, moments of
Mm,
compassion.
right, right.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of, like, I became more connected to the mother wound, I think, when I
Mhm.
was pregnant, and even when, I remember, what my mom would tell me stories like, "Oh, yeah, you just, like, slept through the night. You just, like, you what do you mean?" Like, there was no sleep training or, like, not that I like, or, like, crying in the night, and then, like, you have a kid and you try and put them down for naps and, like, get them to sleep and you're feeding multiple times. I'm like, "What do you mean I just slept through the night?" I was like she's like, "Well, I just turned on the music box and shut the door." And I was like, so
Right,
I
right.
would cry myself to
Right,
sleep,
right. That
like,
yeah, that's called sleep training
so
indirectly.
and so, like, it's like there were things that, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I was just a good sleeper because I, like, didn't understand
Mm,
how babies slept until you, like,
mm,
have it." So there were moments where I was like, "Oh, wow, I was really not attuned to in that moment. That's
right.
okay, I love being, like, a little girl." So there's been, like, that side of it, but then there's also been, like, there are moments where I get triggered and I have a reaction and I get heated, and
Mhm.
it's in front of my son, and I'm like, "Motherfucker."
Yeah,
Like, I wanna break that cycle because
yeah.
that's what I witnessed. That's how adults behaved around me, where I felt unsafe and scared and on eggshells and, oh my God, and the volatility and when is it gonna, and noticing in moments like, okay, I actually reacted to that the way that my mom would react. So not only can I have compassion that like she lost control in that moment and didn't have the tools, but here I am, this person who's done all this work and has tools, and like still lost my cool. So it's like compassion for her, and then also like, okay, now this is my work continues.
For many people, when they become parents, it connects a lot of dots. You get
Yeah.
to see like, oh, this is why I didn't get this, or this is why it was so hard for my mom or dad, And so, yeah, it's.
Yeah. And also my mom was a single mom,
Oh yeah, that's next
which
level.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, because John is tremendously involved, and like I can't, my grandma was very involved, but like I can't imagine my mom was like 22.
Wow. And how many children?
No, just me.
Just you. Okay. Yeah.
That she like, wow. I also commend that like she showed up and did truly the best that she could. Even though today she'll be like, I know I'm not supposed to say I did the best that
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
could.
But also like, so I had a child when I was 46. I can't imagine what kind of dad I would have been at, 22, 25. I mean, I would have been reactive. I would have maybe left. Like I would have not, and even now at 52, I struggle a lot of times trying to respond instead of react. So
Yeah.
for parents who are in their 20s, oh man, I mean, what they had no tools. So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and like to that point, I spent my entire life I personalized my dad leaving. And in my book, I come to the realization that like him leaving didn't have anything to do with me. Like I like felt that for the first time. But then I had a child and I was able to be like, not because I ever imagined abandoning my son, but like when you understand the demand and the devotion required, I was like, oh, of course my 22-year-old father who like married my mom when she was 8 months pregnant because he thought he was supposed to do that and wanted to be a famous musician and didn't actually wanna be committed to her, left me and her. It
Mm,
truly had nothing to do with me. He
mm.
did not have the skills to be a father, like,
Right.
and I, like, actually was really able to, like, let go of this idea that he left me or abandoned me. I was like, "That had nothing to do with me."
I'm
So that was freeing.
Yeah. As we're saying, and then I know you might be like, John, what are you talking about? I tend to bird walk, but as we're talking right now, I just had this thought. So, and this is, I don't know why I'm saying this. It's a little vulnerable, but in the last couple days, I feel there's been some distance between my partner and I, my wife and I. And as you're talking, we're talking about parents and corrective experiences and breaking patterns. Something just told me like, don't say anything, but just hold her.
Mm,
And it's also really hard for me to do just
mm,
because, I don't know, ego or whatnot. And I just feel like with us, like me growing up, especially as a Korean American, I never got held. And maybe that's why it's so hard for me. But I had this little, like this angel, while you were talking, this angel just nodded and said, just don't say anything, just hold her. But I feel like overall that theme has played a lot in your life and also with your story,
yeah.
kind of being held in this relationship with John and then what that did to you. And now, the trajectory of your, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that little nudge.
Let's see if I can actually do it. But I guess
Yeah.
I gotta make myself
That's
accountable.
cute. My thing with John, like, what instantly soothes me is, like, I just wanna cuddle. Just hold
Hmm.
me. Like,
Hmm.
I don't need advice.
Yeah.
I don't like, you don't need to solve anything. Just fucking hold me.
Mm, yeah.
And, like, that is soothing.
Can I ask you, what made you decide to write this memoir?
I think it was I had to write it for my own clarity and understanding and dot connecting because I do think that question of, like, "Wait, how the hell did I get here?" was a poignant one and really led me to the page, as a writer. So it did start as this kind of thing for me, and then I think in the process of writing it, I, like, realized how many people felt unfulfilled, trapped, lonely,
Right.
stuck in marriages. I don't think I realized the number of people, like, the amount of messages I'm getting from people who feel like they're living this exact same story. I didn't expect that. But, like, I think we find ourselves in moments where we're trapped kind of in a cage that we made, and I think we forget that we hold the key.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted the book and story to like be an example of, because it's a love story, but it's really a self-love and self-liberation story. And I think my like larger commitment in my work always is like the idea of breaking cycles. And, how do we be the one in our generation that will like face the flames and be the one who will do things differently so that we can spare really the children that follow.
Yes.
And so I felt like I had to.
It's an amazing book. I read it fast because it's such a page turner. I wanted to end this podcast where we started, and that is on Tumblr. Why did you create Hey Amber Rae? What made you create that on Tumblr?
I think for the same reason of why I wrote this memoir is like I needed a space to honestly see myself. And I think when I started at Tumblr, I didn't think anyone was going to read my Tumblr.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, it's a diet, right.
This is just like a place for me to it's a digital journal in a way. But I think what I discovered is that by me looking at myself honestly, I helped other people look at themselves honestly. And that was the most unexpected gift. And that's kind of, I feel like my purpose is like, how can I say maybe the thing we're afraid to say, or how can I take my mask off, or how can I like share this very vulnerable sex scene? Because I think a lot of us feel alone in our shame or our insecurity or our feeling trapped. And like, maybe if I give voice to it, I can, help people see themselves more clearly and then do something about it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I was talking about being held or holding and not talking just holding. I think Tumblr held us. See what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Because Tumblr was a space where you can actually pull the curtain back or talk about your feelings. And that was the temperature of the room. It was all, and so I felt really held by Tumblr. A lot of the stuff that I wrote about, I don't think I would say today if I started, say on Instagram or on Substack or something. And so
Totally.
it was a very magical time.
It's true, and it was like there was something casual about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I would write, like, and I wouldn't even use proper punctuation, and
Yeah,
I'm
me
like
too. Right.
I, like,
Yeah.
wasn't capitalizing letters just because it
Yeah.
felt very, like whereas, Substack feels buttoned up.
Professional. Yeah. Tumblr was
No.
personal.
Yeah,
Substack feels professional.
yeah, and, like,
Yeah.
even Instagram is somewhere in between, but
Mm-hmm.
it's, like, 'cause it's image-based, it needs to be, like, polished in the presentation, that's what like, nice graphics but, yeah, there was something that was very, like, authentic and
Yeah.
human about Tumblr.
Yeah. Amber Rae, what is next for you?
What is next? Well, we're moving, October 1st. I've got some creative projects up my sleeve. I already know the next book, which I'm
Wow.
excited about.
That's going to be book 3, correct?
No, this was book 3. It was book 4 if you count a
Oh, book
journal.
4. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, this will be like traditional book number 4, yeah.
And is the next book going to be a memoir or is it going to be a hybrid or you don't know yet?
It'll be like a collection of essays
Mm,
on probably like marriage, motherhood, and am I seriously in middle life?
yeah. Oh, nice. 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 Is writing the hat that you wear as far as you consider yourself an author first or a coach or what would you?
Writer, author first.
Yeah.
I think my happy place is the page, and I think
Yeah.
this book being I've always wanted to write memoir. I think I started with self-help because that got my foot in the door, and then I was like, "Wait, no, I just wanna let the story be the mirror rather than having to, like, turn it around to the reader and give them tips." And so I feel like I accomplished my, like, writer feels like she accomplished the thing she, like, set out to do in this lifetime, and now it's like, now I get to do more of that in that style. But yeah, writer first, and I don't actually, like, coach on these topics, funny enough, but I do more, like, writing mentorship.
Right.
So helping people book deals, find their voice, launch their writing, and all of that.
Well, thank you for being here. What a joy for me because I feel like if Tumblr was high school, this is a reunion. And to see your story personally and then read your book and to know all the chapters and now you're a mom, it's really cool,
Thank you. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I found your passion experiment
I love it. You
form thing.
you have to snapshot it and send it to me so I could just look at it from back in the day. Where can we find you?
I am Hey Amber Rae on Instagram. Lovable is available everywhere books are found, and amberrae.com has links to everything.
I love that you, like me, kept our Tumblr name because I've been the angry therapist since 2010. I love that you didn't change it and you kept Hey Amber Rae. That's still you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, everyone. In the show notes, you will see her links and pick up her book. It's such a great, powerful read. And Amber, thank you for writing and sharing with the world.
Thank you. Thanks
right.
for having me.
Thank you for listening to all.